Randy Crabtree, host of the Unique CPA podcast and partner with Trimerit Specialty Tax Professionals. Here, recording live in Rosemont, Illinois, with Dan Hood, editor-in-chief of Accounting Today. We are at the Bridging the Gap conference.
Woo.
Yeah, woo-hoo. We are for day one, and I know it's early on, but just first, thank you for being here and sitting down and having this discussion. Second, any thoughts so far on the conference?
Very excited to be here for the discussion, but also very excited to be here for the conference. We just, as you said, it's just kicked off. First couple of sessions, though, really summed up what this conference, I think, as a lot about. I know the things you care about for it is the personal and emotional and human elements of, and the health elements of the profession. And they're, as you know, you've talked about this a lot. They're not as paid attention to as much as they should be, right? They're
No.
ignored way more than should be. There's a lot of unhealthy stuff going on, and both physically and emotionally. There's a lot of great focus on that. I think it's pointing a lot of people here in a great direction. So.
Yeah, no, that's the goal. Well, we're early in, but I think I'm hearing good feedback so far. So we'll cross our fingers. It keeps
Right,
going that way. But we have great speakers, you being one of them. You are hosting or moderating 2 sessions?
Moderating 2 sessions. Yeah, very excited about that. One with Alan Colton. That's going to be very exciting. I'm just going to point it out and say, Alan, tell us everything you know.
Exactly.
I'll just
and
be
he'll
quiet
just go.
over here, and he'll take care of that. But no, that should be a great conversation. And then a panel on there's 3 different practitioners who've combined marketing and business development in really unique and interesting ways. Some in social media, but some in more traditional ways. But interestingly and innovative around those old-fashioned ideas. So they're basically, it's sort of case studies, but then we're going to be talking about how other firms can apply those, and what that role of that combination of marketing and business development can look like.
Yep.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that'll be a fun session, and I'm really looking forward to that. All these sessions I'm looking forward to, but that'll be great. And you're in Alan's discussion. I mean that Alan, like you said, you just ask a question, he can go.
Exactly.
and so it'll be a lot of fun. I think, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it should be good. As I said, it's the kind of thing where people can ask me a question and I can just go, but I don't say anything interesting. Alan, when he goes, just say, we should make that clear. When Alan's going to talk for 50 minutes, it's going to be good. There's going to be useful information.
So I'm going to tell you, when you talk, people listen. I don't know
That's
if you
a
realize
terrible
this or
mistake
not.
they make. No one tells them to listen. I'm not responsible for that. But.
And you make me laugh, which is nice too. Let's go into because we talked about things people are doing in your sessions, and the first 2 sessions here, people really sharing emotional sides of things that they've gone through and come out the other side. But from our profession in general, I mean, there's every profession has issues that they need to deal with. What are, let's say, some of the most pressing things you're seeing? Because I mean, editor-in-chief of Accounting Today. You see a lot of things going on. What are you seeing right now that are some of the most pressing issues we're dealing with?
Sure. I mean, I think one of the biggest ones, and it goes to a lot of the reasons why this is an important conference, right, is the people problem. Just getting the pipeline problem, getting people to come into the profession, getting them to stay in the profession, getting them to enjoy the profession, and get all the benefits that the profession offers. And that's a huge problem, and a lot of it goes to the sort of, like I said, the physical and mental well-being that we're going to be talking about here today, here over the next couple of days, I should say. That's a huge problem. Just figuring out, and all the different, there's a million different aspects of it on every level, literally from just capacity problems and scheduling and getting people staffed onto engagements, getting them the right talent, the right skills they need. Huge issues in a million different range of things there. So I would say that's probably number one. Technology remains it's a huge opportunity, but a big sort of how do I handle this for a lot of firms? There's so many different opportunities and so many different threats that it's very difficult to figure it out, right? You can figure out the individual. Okay, I need this app, or I need this software to handle my tax prep. Okay, good, that's done. But then the broader ramifications of what that means for your practice and how you're working that into your people problems, how you're using it to solve your people problems, how it's creating some people problems. I think that's an issue that people can wrap their heads around, or try to wrap their heads around for forever.
Yeah.
Succession issues. This is a big thing going on. Again, that's a little bit a part of the pipeline problem. Right? What do you do with your practice? We've got a lot of practitioners, a lot of owners, and CPA firm managing partners who are going to be retiring, or should be retiring, or at least they've reached retirement age.
Right.
And maybe they don't want to retire, and that's fine. But those that do, what are they going to do? Who's going to pick up all these practices? Who's going to take care of all this work? Who's going to pay for their retirements? Is a big profession-wide issue. There's a lot of others. I think those are some of the really top ones for us.
Yeah, and so with the succession, Alan, who we talked about already, Colton, is going to be on another panel here talking about M&A in our profession, because that is one. Probably shouldn't always be the retirement option is to sell, but that ends up, as you said, who's going to buy me? That ends up being an issue too often. But we have a panel where it's not only talking about M&A in general, and Alan does these big deals, but we have, two different size firms, smaller than the deals Alan does, talking about, hey, this is how we grow the firm. This is how we, even get rid of clients. I mean, I've talked to people who've just sold a segment of the business because, hey, this is not something we want to deal. We have a great group. I want to get them into someone else's hands and do that. So I think M&A is a really important additional. And then what you said, and now I'm taking over the conversation here, but what you said, I think
I'm
you and I
listening.
have done this
I'm listening.
before. We've
Yeah.
done this before when
Well,
we
go
go
ahead,
back.
talk. I'm listening.
That in the technology end, we have a couple sessions on that. In technology, and you kind of said, "Oh, what am I going to do with this?" Like people to get freaked out about it because they don't understand. I think the whole, you know, they fear this short term. Hey, I got to spend 30 days implementing these new systems and my new tech stack, and oh, that pain is just so significant. I don't even think about the 1,000 hours I'm going to save over the
Right.
next year by implementing it. And so that's a session we're having here, just talking about a couple on technology, because I think it's so important to just get past that fear. Because when you do it, you become more efficient.
Yep.
And if you want to be mentally healthier, be more efficient.
I'm just going to
Yeah.
just throw in a quick thing there, and this may not be, this probably isn't as helpful as it should be, but I think one thing that's really important for people to realize is to shift their mindset around technology, because I think a lot of them have that, you say, that sort of that fear of the initial implementation
Right.
and the disruption, and there's no question it's disruptive.
Yep.
I think part of the problem, and this may is a broader issue for accounting firms, most businesses I should say as well, but we see it a lot in accounting firms, is this notion that as terrifying as this one change is, once I get through it, I'm done. And the problem is, you're never done,
No.
right? In anything, whether it's technology, whether it's whatever you're doing,
Right.
you're never done. We've reached a point where nothing is going to stay the same for long enough for you to get comfortable,
Right.
which I realize is terrifying, and it makes, I'm sorry to say it. But the flip side of it is, once you accept that, you get into a different state where you're like, well, I'm just not, we're just going to constantly change.
Right.
And you build up the skill sets to deal with
Yes.
that and the mindset. So then you're less about, as long as you know it's happening,
Right.
that's one part of the battle. I think that's an important thing for a lot of firms, and a lot of individuals to work on, is the notion that things will continually change from now on. There's
Right.
no, the accounting profession has been the same for 80 years. I mean,
Exactly.
that's an exaggeration a little bit, but I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of things stayed the same for a long time.
Oh yeah.
And that was true of every other industry as well. And of the economy, we're now at a point where the way technology moves, the way demographics move, you have to get comfortable with that change. And once you do that, I think, it's a big if, but once you do it, that's a great, it helps you approach it, helps you be less of each new thing is a terrifying thing. I've just got to
Exactly.
get over it.
I never even looked at that way, but that's awesome because that we have speakers here that are talking about that too and how important. I mean, delegation, automation, and elimination.
Right?
This I didn't realize that was a thing. I started saying it like a month ago, and they go, "Oh yeah." Then
That's
when
great.
people say that, I'm like, "I didn't know that."
And it must be true because it rhymes. We
Exactly.
all know that that's
Exactly. Well, to stick on that theme that we were just talking about, constant change. I mean, one of the big ones that everybody's talking about and we're seeing, and we have two sessions on it here, is AI.
yeah,
What do you think? I mean, do you have an idea what's going to happen with AI or what? I mean, there is fear.
yeah.
People are afraid. It's going to happen. It's going to help in the long run, I
Yeah.
assume. I don't know what your thoughts on AI are.
Sort of mixed. I mean, I think it's entirely possible that it could, that people should be a little bit afraid of
Yep.
it. Or you put it this way: you should be afraid of it if you're not willing to change to work with it.
Yep.
If you expect to maintain the same business you've always had, then you should be afraid of it, because what AI is going to do is a lot of that compliance work, the basic compliance work. AI can do that.
Yep.
But frankly, regular software can do a lot of it
Yeah.
already. You
No,
look
you're
about
right.
tax prep, and you look at bookkeeping, a lot of stuff. Regular software can do that. AI is going to just do it a million times better and faster and cheaper. So if you just want to stay the same, you should be afraid of it.
Right.
If you want to collaborate with it, work with it, and go with it, then you should be very excited, because it's going to offer all kinds of amazing opportunities. But again, it will require a lot of work and a lot of a willingness to change on a regular basis. And change is terrible. We all hate change. I hate
We
change.
we all have a fear of change.
Yes,
I know that.
because it's terrible. Let's be clear, it's terrible.
It's terrible.
It's not just that we're afraid; it's terrible. But But so, and that's the thing. I think with AI, if you're willing to make the changes that to go along with it, it's going to enable enormous success. We get into the whole
Right.
advice, moving to advisory services, but it's going to be the underpinning of that, and it's going to make great advisors even greater.
No, no, for sure. And that I think you just can't have that fear. You just have to know. And a lot of times though, you're not even going to be the one who's having to learn AI.
Yeah,
The AI is going to be in these packages that you
100%.
already are using. And so that fear should not be. The fear that maybe we need to worry about now is security because there's, you can't just put anything out there on Chat GPT and put your bank account information because that's not going to be good. But I'm sure there's smart people out there that are going to figure this out and it'll be good. So um, let's talk a little more then about expanding on the people
Yep.
issue. Um, I mean, I think automation
Yep.
can help with a lot of that.
Huge.
Um, I think I think a big thing is that as a profession, we always think we have to be able to do everything. And I think that mindset has to change some that we can delegate, whether that's outsource or internal, everything. There is nothing, and believe me, an example of that. I've pretty much delegated everything at this point, other than talking to you. That's my whole
But that's the thing you held on to.
that was the
What?
one I held on
I don't think
to.
you understand what delegation's about. You get rid of the stuff you don't want to do. Is
Ah,
the
I see. That's the problem. I need to learn. That's why I'm here at the session. But I don't know if you have any ideas how it's going to be solved, what's going to change it, what's going to get us more efficient people wise.
Right. Well, it's interesting. I mean, we talk about automation. I think automation is already made up. What do you think? But the people problem has been sort of growing over 20 years,
Yeah.
and I think technology and automation is actually the only reason we were still able to work is it's already taken care of it. We just didn't really notice it. The
Yep.
two things were happening. We were bringing in all this technology to for all the basic work that we're doing. At the same time as suddenly we didn't really maybe notice how bad it was the decline in people because the technology was enabling us to be more
Yeah.
efficient.
Makes sense.
But I think that, yeah, as you say, we're gonna have to pursue automation much, much more seriously. Offshoring is great. I think we're going to see more partnerships. Effectively, it's kind of like offshoring or outsourcing, but
Yep.
I think we're going to see more sort of ecosystems of specialized firms that work with, say, well, I don't do any of that, but
I agree.
my man over here takes care of it. Or if you need payroll, I don't do payroll, but Bob does, and he's great. And I work with Bob all the time, and we're connected. We can collaborate. So you're never gonna you're never going to lose any steps because we're not the exact same firm and the work is being done outside. I think we're going to see a lot more people hired who are not from an accounting background,
Yep.
particularly in CAS. People talk about their CAS practices and how they're building those, and they're realizing that the skill sets they need in different parts of CAS are
Hmm.
very different from the skill sets that you need from a basic accountant. And you can train a psychology major or an English major or
Right.
whatever you need to do a lot of that work. And I think
Right.
we're going to see a lot more of that. So I
I,
think long term you're going to see firms be a lot fewer CPAs, a lot fewer accountants.
yep.
I mean, they're still going to feel like an accounting firm. I don't think that's going to go
Right.
away, but I think you're going to see a lot more, like I said, English majors and psychology majors and theater majors and stuff like that. And so, well, you don't need a partner, you don't need a CPA, to do this, to run my tech department, right? Do I
Right.
really need a CPA? Maybe the CPA loves it and that's great, but does it have to be?
Right.
Couldn't it be someone who has a degree in, software engineering or whatever the case may be?
Right.
So I think we're going to see a lot more of that.
I do too. And to that point, Dawn Brolin, who was our opening speaker
Yeah.
today, talked about she hired this woman who was a bartender because she saw a hard worker and great personality and like, do you want to be a bookkeeper? And now she came
For
on
some
and it
reason,
was
she said yes.
she
I
said
don't think the
yes.
tips are as good in bookkeeping, but
Well, she might have been scared of Dawn. So
Dawn is in the most delightful way possible, extremely intimidating.
she
So,
she
yeah,
is, but I love her. She is awesome, and I know we all do. So, well, this is a great conversation. I appreciate your insights. I appreciate, and I've said this to you before, and I've said this when I'm talking to other people about you. I don't think you realize the impact you have on this profession because you actually even made fun of yourself a little at the beginning, but you are one of probably the most impactful people that I know in this profession. So I appreciate you being here today.
thank you for having me. It's all being a chance to talk to people like you, to people like Alan. We just talk to everybody we can and just to share the
Oh
insights
yeah.
from them. So
Oh, I learned so
that's what
much
makes it
doing
happen.
this.
Yeah,
Yep. All right. Well, thank you.
brother,
All right.
pleasure as always.
Appreciate it.